Jenny, author, speaker, grief coach, and if you've ever felt lost, broken, or abandoned, even by hope, I want you to know that you're in the right place. Here, I really try to help us all turn that pain into purpose in our life and to allow grief to bring growth in our life and to even tackle those questions of doubt that you may have and help you see how they can actually deepen your faith. So in each video, I'll be sharing insights, encouragement, and spiritual tools, practical things to help you heal, to rebuild, and to discover that God still has a plan for you. So let's take this journey together, friend.
Welcome to God Prince, where stories of grief, faith, and healing come to life. Jenny Levitt is an author, mental health coach, and founder of Resilient Hope. If you or someone you love is navigating loss, survivor's guilt, or deep sorrow, join us. We're here to walk with you, cry with you, and remind you, you are not alone, and hope is still within reach. These are our stories. These are his God Prints. Let's begin.
I know that your mom getting sick really played a very big role in how you and Caleb wound up connecting eventually.
Correct.
So I don't know if you want to share, if you're okay sharing about your mom. I know both of us have lost our moms, how challenging it is. So I know in these videos, a lot of times Caleb and I will talk about like our family's loss, me coming from the perspective of losing a child and then Caleb from losing a sibling, but there are so many other types of loss. And I remember growing up, it's crazy that I'm getting teary-eyed now, but I remember the very first loss that I dealt with was my favorite only dog that I'd had at the time got hit by a car right out in front of our house. And I still remember I was in 5th grade and I just remember crying and crying and crying. And I remember when my mom, especially after my sister and I had gotten out of the house, she got very close to her animals. So that was really hard on her. So I know animals can be hard, but losing a parent, every loss is so different. And then you were so young when you lost your mom. My mom was 80 or 81. Every loss is hard, but I guess as your parents age, you kind of would expect that more.
You feel like it.
Then when you're in your 20s, lose your mom.
Yeah, and beginning my 20s at that. Like, my first loss, though, actually was my Meemaw, which was the year prior. She passed away in 2020, and that was really, it was difficult. I wasn't as close with her, obviously, as I was with my mom, but I think that that was just the first one who really shook me. Like, I actually had a panic attack at church, like, when I had found out, and I'd have people calm me down, and that was my first time ever experiencing, like, a viewing and a funeral, and so, like, that one, honestly, I think that it was preparing me for like what was honestly to come the next year. But what happened was I actually found out that my mom was sick when I was in Sanford. I was down there for, I want to say, a concert or something to that effect, maybe an outreach, and I got a call from my mom and she told me that she just left the emergency room. And I was like, okay, why were you in the emergency room? And she had been in a lot of pain. My mom originally got sick when I was 6 years old. My mom had breast cancer for the first time when I was 6 years old, and she had stage 3 breast cancer, which she went through extensive chemotherapy and radiation and lost all her hair. Like, I remember her having wigs when I was in kindergarten and different stuff like that, but she was able to beat it, and she had had a mastectomy. They offered her at the time to do a double mastectomy. She declined. She didn't want to have to worry about reconstruction or like anything like that, and she was just like, just take the one that's affected. So then fast forward 14 years through remission, she called me and said that she had just left the emergency room. She was in a lot of pain. Her bones were hurting, which she had osteoporosis from her previous cancer diagnosis, so I thought it was something linked to that, but she said they were hurting so bad that she had to go to the emergency room. And while she was there, they did an x-ray of her body, and they told her, you have bone metastasis, and wrote her a referral, and that was it. And so obviously, having a family member that's already or who have had cancer, I know what the word metastasis means. And so I said, bone metastasis, that's cancer. And she was like, I know, like trying to calm me down. And I was like, how can they just tell you have cancer and then just like send you away like that, like it's nothing? In my brain, I thought, well, it's cancer that has to come from somewhere if it's metastasized. So it was kind of like a really big bombshell just kind of like dropped on me there. I was 2 hours away from home. Like, I wasn't home at the time, which I was still living with my mom at the time. I immediately went to you and I was like, my mom just told me that she's sick, that something's wrong with her. You actually said, I think you should talk to Caleb because he had some experience with you having cancer in the past.
Let me pause. Some of you may not know that I had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I've been clear since November of 1998. However, I've had lots and lots and lots of issues. Scares over the years, issues, long-term issues from the chemo and the radiation. And Caleb being our oldest child, especially when he was younger, for the first several years of school, I would start out the school year by talking privately to his teachers and just telling them that especially because I was still in that, they were fearful, probably like the first 10 years of his life. I was still going every 6 months for checkups. He knew what all was going on, and I started doing that at the start of every school year because when I noticed that he would act out the days that he knew that I had to go for some kind of testing or treatment or something, and I would get him from school and they'd be like, and so when I would tell his teachers, they were a lot more like understanding with him. So he probably doesn't remember the active treatments, but I know he remembers the aftermath and all the scares and all the surgeries I had to have growing up, parts removed that were precancerous.
And on that topic as well, like for us, I was 6 at the time, but my sisters were 7 and 8. So really it impacted them a lot more than it did me. And we got kicked out of daycare for behavior issues. My sister went through like 2 different teachers at school, and it was a really big adjustment for them, especially too at that time. She was just in a lot of pain. She couldn't work anymore. She started to receive family medical leave assistance for her job at the time. I kept like telling her like, hey, we need to take you to the doctor, we need to take you to the hospital. I think at that point, like, she knew how sick she was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hi friends. My heart behind every video that we make here is to help you turn your pain into some kind of purpose and your loss into hope. You won't just watch. My prayer and my hope is that you will leave with insights that you can actually take action on and that will help transform not just your heart, but your life and your view on life. For more encouragement, tools, and connection with a supportive faith community, visit campsite.bio/Jenny Levitt. If you want to see how God can leave his fingerprints in the hardest season of your life, my book, God Prints, Finding Evidence of God in the Shattered Pieces of Life, is full of stories, insights, and guidance to help you embrace hope again. It's available at jennylevitt.com/godprints. It's also available anywhere that you can buy books. And also, if you go to my resource page of jennylevitt.com, I have a free study guide to accompany the God Print book. So as you read our story, you can have the study guide right next to you, and hopefully my prayer is that God uses it to help you find your own God print moments in your life. Because your story is not over, friend. God is still writing it. And with every step, you can experience healing, growth, and a deeper, lasting, abiding joy than you ever imagined or ever realized was even possible.